Everybody thinks I'm suicidal, in which case I'm fucked and nobody wants to work with me. Or they think I'm faking a draw psycho pension, in which case I'm fucked and nobody wants to work with me. Basically, I'm fucked.
Guess what?
What?
I don't want to work with you.
Hey, don't.
Ain't got no choice. Looks like we both are fucked.
Hey, okay, no bullshit. You want to kill yourself? Oh, for Christ. Shut up! Yes or no? You want to die? Yes or no? I got the job done. What the hell do you want? Didn't answer the question. Oh, what do you want to hear, man? Do you want to hear that sometimes I think about eating a bullet? Huh? Well, I do. I do. I even got a special one for the occasion with a hollow point. Look, make sure it blows the back of my goddamn head out. Do the job right.
We do this my way. You shoot to kill. Get as many as you can. All you gotta do is just not miss.
I won't miss.
We're gonna get bloody on this one, Roger.
You know what? This time of the year, wait a minute, it's been a year now. Okay, year because Christmas time, and we talked a bunch of different Christmas films, and obviously we talked Die Hard, and every year, all over the media and Facebook. I mean, I just wish somebody would make a fucking decision: is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not?
Yes.
Every year you get the same conversation, but what we don't get is why aren't people talking the film we're talking about today? Because quite frankly, this is way more of a Christmas film than Die Hard even thinks it is.
I agree. And I've always agreed with that.
Yes.
I actually don't.
Ooh, I like it. I like the challenge. But Colin, I'm telling you now, gloves are off. Because
yeah, that's fine.
This has
Great.
such more of a theme-oriented Christmas backstory than Die Hard does. Die Hard does use it as an excuse to get John McClane to go see his kids. Here, I think Christmas is the egg, and the story itself is the yolk.
Well, family.
Wow, that's pretty poetic.
Yeah,
I think I want credit for
family is very much a theme running throughout all of the Lethal Weapon films.
Exactly.
So that ties in with the Christmas flavor.
Okay, so we're going to jump into this one, and we're going to pepper in a little bit of a Christmas thing. We'll talk about more of the Christmas aspect of it at the end in our reviews. Colin has put out the gauntlet, as they say, to challenge us.
I have.
Oh.
Bring it.
Ooh, Colin's always ready to piss me off.
It's what I do best. It's why you wanted me here.
Yeah, exactly. But with that being said, welcome. This film has not yet been rated. And you're right, Colin, that it is a handful.
Yeah, a little bit.
We'll talk about that after the podcast. And joining me is the regular band of Misfits. We've got Trevor.
Good to be here, as always.
Thanks, buddy. And Colin.
Hello, ho, ho.
Wow.
Gotta get it Christmassy, you know? We're doing a Christmas movie.
Fantastic.
Wow, you guys must have stayed up all night looking for those ones. That's bad. All right, so again, we're talking the 1987 Richard Donner film, Lethal Weapon. And it is going to be spoiler-filled, but if you haven't seen this film, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast anyway because you're not a film fan. Also, we will contain harsh language, mainly because, well, I have Tourette's. Just kidding. That was anybody?
Yeah, motherfucker. Oh, wait,
Wow,
sorry, that's
come
your
on. That was a funny joke. God, man, I used to have some good humor. I need to get a host that like, at least fake laugh for me. Yeah, there you go. Give me something, Jesus. All right, so yes, so we're talking about Lethal Weapon, and the great thing about we'll just go off and say this right now, and we talk about underrated films. We like to use that a lot. I'm going to tell you right now, an underrated director is Richard Donner.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Richard Donner is such a genre master, like John Carpenter, who's my go-to. This guy gave us The Omen, Superman 2, little argument there. Ish, yes, exactly. The Goonies. Then he jumps us, gives us Lethal Weapon. And when I did it, I totally forgot, didn't even think about it. Our next film we're doing for Christmas is his next film, which is called Scrooged.
Murray.
Richard Donner has given us such a massive potluck of just great genres and just good films. And I just don't think he helped us create the Tales from the Crypt franchise. And the guy has got so many great street cred. I just think he's underappreciated. I just want to give that.
I believe he started off in the 1960s directing episodes of Twilight Zone.
Yeah, most likely. I think he did a Charles Bronson film, which was his first film. It was gritty and raw, and that's what got him the Omen.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to put that out there. I think Richard Donner's work needs to be seen more, and I don't think people really know that. I don't think a lot of people know the people behind the camera.
Yeah, he deserves more credit than he's given.
All right, everybody, we're going to jump into this one. We're going to talk about Lethal Weapon. So we pretty much open. Oh, look, Jingle Bell Rock is playing.
It was actually this movie that got me into that song for Christmas.
Yeah, it is. It's the one Christmas song I actually could listen to. Otherwise, I hate Christmas music. And
I'm not a Christmas music fan in general either. There are some good Christmas songs, but the majority of them are pretty shit.
Yeah. Well, I know Colin has the box set of Christmas songs. He loves them.
Mariah Carey.
Hell yeah! I mean, I have a Christmas playlist. It's 77 songs long. But having said that, it is made up of unusual Christmas music. Like there's a metal band called, I think it's Orion's Rain. Norwegian dudes or Greek dudes, proper metal band singing Christmas songs. It's the most epic thing you've ever heard.
The Sex Pistols do a good cover of Jingle Bells as well. You might want to check out.
Right. Okay.
Well, that's just terrifying. There is a band I like from Russia, and they're called the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and they do rock music to famous. They don't sing. It's just guitars and stuff. It's instrumental. It's really cool. So I would check that out. All right. Anyway,
sorry if we could just get that in. Christopher Lee did a heavy metal album of Christmas songs.
Christopher Lee.
Yes, Dracula himself. Yep.
I can see that.
Check it out on YouTube.
It's right up there with William Shatner's albums in the 70s.
Only Christopher Lee's actually good.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's be interesting.
Yeah.
So we open up and we got the theme song, the big bold credits. As Jingle Bell Rock plays, we quickly introduced to a lady called Amanda Hussacker. She's dazed and confused. She's obviously on some kind of drug, and she walks out to the balcony, and the Jingle Bell Rock slowly disappears. We get into the eerie music, and she decides she's going to fly, and she jumps, and she falls, and she smashes into a car. Very, actually, graphic, nudity-wise, and dark scene for an opening sequence.
Yeah, the Jingle Bell Rock song is very much a sort of false sense of security. Once this scene comes in, and it's quite a brutal scene.
Yeah, it is, and I do like how they intro it. Meaning we're going to be some fun, but at the same time, this is darker than what you might think.
Yeah, it's essentially the juxtapose of what we're going to get throughout the rest of the film.
And if you all, on a different note, for all you Cheers fans, who watches Cheers?
I would sort of watch it on and off on a hop over the years.
You ready for this one? You know Kelly, Woody's girlfriend?
Yeah.
That's her.
Right? I didn't know that.
The very cute blonde who was in the last 3 seasons of Cheers. That is her. It's pretty much her only claim to fame. She hasn't done much since, but if you want to see Kelly naked, that sounds horrible to say, I guess, when I'm saying this out loud.
If you want to see this actress topless, go and watch Lethal Weapon.
I feel so bad for saying
10 out of 10. Great movie.
But what the hell? Yeah, I'm good. Are we all done? Thank you for joining us there. So we cut to the Murtaughs. We meet the Murtaughs, Roger and the gang. They all run into his bathroom and say happy birthday as he's taking a bath to get ready for his workday. He's turning 50. His daughter starts talking to him by the bath. This is scene always, even when I saw it when I was 16, bothers me a bit because they could have done some bubble placement.
Yes.
Yeah, like it wasn't like there was a face cloth went down or anything. You just like freeballing with his kids looking at it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whenever I was a kid, I had a mate, and his family, whenever they were sort of, in front of each other and stuff growing up, they all would have happily walked about naked and stuff. So it reminded me of that, and that's not always a good thing, you know.
Okay.
I mean, there are probably families out there who do that, but
Yeah, I have no
I
problem
don't
with.
know. It was again, maybe it's just
Maybe we're
this
too
film was
conservative.
kind of a product of its time as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think what they were trying to do, and I respect it, was that this family loves each other. They're just they don't think of all that kind of stuff. They're just
Oh, it's all innocent.
they're
It's
all
just-
innocent. It's innocent. And
Yeah.
but from an onlooker, we're like, give us some bubble placement. As a director, you almost think, well, put more bubble, make it like a big bubble bath.
Put your
and then
fucking
that'd be
swimming
fine.
trunks on, Danny.
But he pretty much was, he was pretty much commando. But we are introduced to Martin Riggs. He is played by Danny Glover. Danny Glover at the time was trying to find
Wait,
his
hold
niche.
You just said we're introduced to Martin Riggs. He was played by Danny Glover.
That was
Oh,
Murtaugh.
sorry. We're introduced to Roger Murtaugh, played by Danny Glover. He was known for the ugly role, great acting, but a horrible character in The Color Purple. And he played the killer in Witness, another great film. But this was his first kind of starring role. So we introduced him to this family environment. They get along. Everything's great. Then we cut to Martin Riggs, who's pretty much me. Well, every morning. He's hungover. He grabs a beer for breakfast. And he lives in a caravan by the beach. And he has a dog. It's pretty much just showing two different lifestyles that are about to meet as partners. And it's actually, I like it. I like the introduction of quick cuts showing Murtaugh's lifestyle and his. It's well done, and it's not boring and dull.
Yeah, the two worlds colliding. Yeah.
Exactly.
And yet both of them unnecessarily naked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get the
that is
butt
true.
shot of
Well,
Martin Riggs.
I didn't want to say this. I was a stunt man for that scene. You know.
What were you, the fridge?
I was an extra in it as well. I was the dog.
Wow. First, we need to talk about you, Trevor, and yours to Steve. We need to talk to you,
I know.
Colin, about you call me a fucking fridge, you bastard. Good to have Colin back, everyone. As Murtaugh's leaving, Roger is, I call him Murtaugh, we call him Murtaugh Riggs. Murtaugh is Danny Glover. Murtaugh is, his wife tells him, a man called Michael Hunsaker called for you. He goes, damn, I haven't heard that name in over 12 years. And he goes, oh, all right, fair enough. He leaves it alone at that. He gets a call to go to the death scene of Amanda Hunsaker. At this time, he doesn't realize that is the daughter of the man who just called him Michael Hunsaker. We meet Dixie, who's a hooker. She was at the crime scene at the time. The conversation, he asked her pretty much what's going on. Not much. Did you see anything? Nope. And the conversation went pretty much nowhere. But Dixie will come back into play.
Yeah. Can I also say at this point as well, there is a line here that me and my mates always found hilarious whenever we were kids, and I really still find it hilarious to this day whenever I rewatched it the other day. Whenever the hooker is walking away, Danny Glover says something along the lines of, all dressed up and no one to blow.
Yep.
I've always loved that line.
Yeah, that is a line. It kind of gives him, you almost think it's out of place for somebody, after introducing Roger to the audience, that he would say that because he's a family man. But I think they did that because once he's out in the streets and he's a cop,
Yeah.
he's a little more edgier.
Yeah, it's gallows humour that I'm sure sort of real cops have, and people who are on the front line type thing would adapt.
Yeah, exactly. We cut to probably one of the most famous scenes in the film. It's a drug bust, and we see Riggs Gibson buying some drugs from these idiots, and it's surrounded by a bunch of Christmas trees, more Christmas theme. And he goes, you know what? I'll take the whole batch. And he goes, how much? The whole batch, 100, and we'll throw you in a Christmas tree. So he takes his wallet out and he starts counting to $100. And they're like, what the fuck? No, 100K, 100,000. Obviously, this turns into a bloodbath where Riggs kills all the bad guys. One takes him hostage. Cops show up, and this shows that Riggs is really on the edge.
Yeah,
Doesn't give a shit. He's a loose cannon. Exactly. You can see his performance is so good in this. I love Mel Gibson in this film. Let's get that out of the way right now.
I agree. He's brilliant.
And they got a gun. He's got a gun to his head. He goes, I don't care. Shoot him, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. Keeps saying it until he headbutts him, gets the gun, and he puts the gun underneath the bad guy's throat, and he says, come on, come on. And he's got that angry, lion-esque roar. It's just cool-ass, badass scene, but it does show you that he is on the edge. Where are we now? Oh, yes. After that wonderful charismatic scene, we cut to him trying to kill himself.
Yeah, this is a really tense scene, actually. You know,
it is.
In the caravan.
It is. He takes a gun. He's got a picture of his wife who's been killed in a car accident on his lap. It's a wedding photo. And he puts the gun into his mouth. And he keeps trying to want to pull the trigger. His performance in that scene is one of the best performances, probably the best performance in the film.
Apparently Gibson as well, according to legend, apparently Gibson insisted that a real bullet be used in this scene too, to give it added authenticity.
Well, that's terrifying.
Yeah. Big time.
Just a little bit. But again, there was that kind of play on Christmas versus depression, because you had the Bugs Bunny cartoon playing in the background.
Yeah, great call. It's a Disney. It's like it's a Christmas Bugs Bunny that's playing in the background.
Yeah, I think Daffy makes an appearance at some point and Bugs walks in the door. I can't really remember, but yeah, it was a good scene.
Yeah. It's a good scene, and again, this is where I'm talking about the Christmas background setting. What Trevor just said about that's built around this ugly scene that this ugly situation this man's going through. Hence why I'm still questioning why Colin doesn't think this is not a Christmas movie.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Riggs is confronted by the cop Shrink. The Shrink is the one who's trying to let people know, listen, Riggs is a nice guy and all, but he's a time bomb. He's too dangerous to us and others. So he's annoying, but in all fairness, he's probably the wise one of the entire group. So he's peppered in through the franchise. At the time, sadly, she passed away of breast cancer, I believe. She was a character actress.
She also played the mother in the Goonies.
Yes, she's Richard Donner's wife.
Right.
Oh.
That's why she was in all the Richard Donner's films.
And also the guy who plays the police captain, who is in all of the sequels as well. He also pops up in Superman in a very small role as a cop.
He's also in a lot of Richard Donner films.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Sam Raimi puts Bruce Campbell in films.
Yes, and Ted Raimi is brother and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So so we're introduced. These guys are going to finally meet. Danny Glover, Murtaugh's having a conversation with another cop. He sees Martin Riggs. He looks homeless, and he sees him taking out a gun. And Murtaugh goes, gun! And he runs after him. And Riggs flips him around. And they all say, this is your new partner. And we find out that Riggs and Murtaugh are buddy-buddy now. Now, this is the cool scene when they're having their first conversation together. They're going into their police vehicle, and they're having a conversation. And Murtaugh quickly says to Riggs, because of all the rumors, that he's nuts. So he pretty much tells Riggs that the war is over. I heard you know jiu-jitsu and martial arts and shit. I guess we should register you as a lethal weapon.
Roll credits.
Grabbing the title, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because the movie title?
Yeah.
Movie title way too early. And he tells them, everybody thinks I'm suicidal or trying to draw a psycho's pension. No one wants to work with me. And then Murtaugh goes, God hates me. And he just says, hate him back. Works for me. It's simple banter, but it gets to the point that these guys, have good chemistry, and you know that it's going to gel well.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship. There's plenty of conflict there. It's good stuff.
Yep. We meet the bad guys, Joshua, played by Gary Busey, before his accident. So he's kind of not as nuts as he is in real life, but he's nuts in this film, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant in this.
And we meet the general. They are ex-military. They are drug dealers. They deal in heroin. One of the buyers meets them all, and he says he's kind of having second thoughts. And he goes, I don't like the fact that you guys have mercenaries working for you. And Joshua is told to lift his arm up, and they burn his skin with a lighter for about a minute as the other guy watches. And he goes, fuck me. Okay, you guys are fucking insane, but I'll do business with you. It's a funny scene, actually.
Yeah.
But long story short, it's a silly scene, but it introduces that these guys are a bunch of fucking assholes.
Yeah, it's to really sort of underline that Joshua is a badass, you know?
Yeah, that's it. That's all it was for. There was nothing else for it. That was it. A little fun fact, the General has been in a lot of Murder, She Wrote. His career really took off. There's a lot of Murder, She Wrote.
For some reason, I had it in my head that this role, before rewatching it the other night, I had it in my head that this role was played by Jack Palance. But I was getting mixed up, I think. I was getting mixed up with Jack Palance's role in Tango and Cash, which is a bit of a Lethal Weapon ripoff.
Yeah, it is. I know that's Colin's favorite film.
God, I hate that movie.
I fucking love that movie.
This guy thinks he's Rambo.
What's worse is I vaguely remember liking it as a kid.
Yeah, same here.
And then when I rewatched it last year, it was terrible.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, just for you, we might do that one for your birthday. Yeah, so we introduced Josh with the bad guys. They're pretty much heroin dealers. They're the bad guys. They're done. All right. So Martin and Riggs, we've got a series of events for them to have a good banter. Now, Martin and Riggs, they go to Michael Hunsaker, the man who called him earlier this morning, and obviously he's going to tell him because he realizes Amanda Hunsaker was his daughter. Michael gives played by Tom Atkins, who I like to see. He's an 80s.
Tom Atkins, yeah.
Yeah, from The Fog and all. He goes off on Murtaugh, and he says, you owe me, Raj. You owe me. You need to get these guys, and you need to kill them. And they both leave. Murtaugh, Riggs asks, what does he owe you for? He goes, he took a bayonet in the ribs or something like that. He took one for him in Vietnam. Yeah. So he says, you owe me. Take care of me. And then as they're still bonding and they're talking a little bit, they go to a car. They go to their jumper. There's a famous jumper scene. Riggs goes, I'll take care of it. Goes on the roof. He's talking to the jumper. They're all looking up. And he decides, you really want to jump? Yeah, I'm going to do it. He decides to handcuff himself to the jumper. And he goes, if you jump, you take me with you. That's murder. And he decides he's had enough. So Riggs, as the man keeps threatening to jump, he makes him jump off the building, which ends up being a big. What was the concern? Because there was a big bag at the bottom of the street.
Castle type thing.
Yeah, Murtaugh kind of loses his mind at this point. And I was like, strictly speaking, Riggs did nothing wrong. Well, or particularly crazy to a degree.
I agree with that 100%.
Well, the great thing about this scene is that there's a bit of ambiguity there. Did Riggs? It's never fully explained that did Riggs know or not that the whole sort of inflatable sort of bag thing to save them was there. So I mean, did Riggs know it was there, or it was being set up?
Of course it
or
did.
Was he
well, they both had to see.
How do you not see that? It's huge. It's the fucking block.
But it wasn't inflated until like way later on in the scene.
No, I get that, and I think they did want the audience. Yeah, I mean. It's the fact that, well, I will say this, and stuntmen say this, you have to follow those things right. You can't just jump. It's kind of like jumping off a diving board or something in the water.
Yeah.
You hit that the wrong way, it could hurt.
It's pretty much flat back landing.
Yeah. But
although you do see that, they actually do tilt back as they jump. So they did it right.
Yeah. Well, the stuntmen did it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. Murtaugh, I think he overreacts to this scene, but I think it's him finally. We need to get the confrontation out of the way because of all these rumors and stuff, and his friend's daughter just died. I think that was him. Just I went off. So he takes.
He's been having a bad day, or as Murtaugh himself would say, "I'm getting too old for this shit."
Exactly. So they go into this storefront that's been closed, and they have it out. He goes, "Do you want to kill yourself? Are you this sane?" It's just it's a great scene actually.
Yes.
I think at the wrong time, but it's a good scene. And he goes, do you want to hear that I sometimes think about swallowing a bullet? Because I do, and I have a hollow point just for the occasion, so it does the job well. And so Murtaugh goes, okay, you want to test me? So he takes the gun, he puts it under Riggs' chin, and Riggs pulls the trigger. But thanks to Murtaugh putting his hand on the what do you call it?
The hammer.
The hammer.
Yeah, the hammer.
And you hear him ouch because he obviously stuns his hand.
Pinches, yeah.
He goes, you're not trying to draw for a psycho pension. You're really just crazy. And all Riggs says, I'm hungry.
Even though he's just at a hot dog.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good scene because I think it gets it out of the way because the rest of the film just is an action film. For the most part. Because after this, he calls the shrink, and the shrink, again, Murtaugh calls the shrink that's been kind of screaming, crazy man, tells him, yeah, I think he's dangerous. So he finds out, Riggs finds out that it's Murtaugh's birthday during this, basic car talkings as they're driving around. He goes, oh, I didn't realize it was his birthday. Happy birthday. Listen, if we stay alive long enough together, I'll buy you a present. After all, of all the kindness you showed me. It's a great line.
And he goes buy him a present later.
Yep. They decide they're going to go to Amanda Hunsecker's meal ticket. It's the man who kind of paid for her apartment that she jumped from. He lives in Beverly Hills. They go there to see him. They end up having a brawl with him. He takes out a gun as were walking up to him to talk to him by the pool. They shoot him in the leg. Murtaugh shoots him in the leg. He tells Riggs, that's how you do it. You shoot him in the leg and then you talk to him. That's how you do it. Nobody dies. Well, as he says this, the bad guy's just barely making it, takes the gun out, and Riggs shoots him twice in the chest. And he falls into the pool and dies. Murtaugh goes off in Riggs. He goes, have you met anybody you haven't killed? He says, I haven't killed you yet. And that's pretty much that scene.
I do love the banter between the two of them throughout. There is a genuine chemistry there.
There is good banter, and it's subtle.
Well written as well.
It is well written, and I do think that the film gets overlooked because of all the violence and all the action. People don't realize how dark and deep the film actually is. And piggybacking what you said, part 2 is actually a lot darker when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. So as the police show up, Murtaugh apologizes to Riggs, saying, thank you for saving my life, because if he didn't shoot him, he would have been dead himself. And just basic banter. So they go to dinner at the Murtaughs. He's invited. I'm not going to go into the whole discussion, but they have a great discussion about just about everything in general. And you can see how Riggs himself fits into this family, or it's almost like he fits in so well that he wants to be part of this. Mm-hmm. Something he could have had, but again, because of the accident his wife was killed in, he's not going to have it. But he fits in really well, and the chemistry is really nice with the kids. We meet Rhiann, his older daughter, who is kind of becoming more of a renegade. There's this nice conversation where Murtaugh and Riggs are on this boat that he's trying to fix up in his front yard. And Rhiann comes out and she goes, I want to go out with my boyfriend. And he's like, is that the one with all the pot marks? And he goes, they're not pot marks, they're dimples. And just good banter. She's been grounded because she was smoking pot. Just regular family atmosphere with
Riggs. Fancies Martin Riggs.
Yes, but that's just a little kiddie crush.
Yeah.
But it's a nice little atmosphere. This movie's supposed to be, you have some good laughs with it, but you don't. I think when
balance.
Yes, it's good balance. When I first saw this, I just saw it for the humor. When you watch it with a little bit older, you feel like it's more to it than it's a lot smarter than you would when you're a kid.
Well, it's one of those movies that doesn't really have any detractions. For the most part, you're just like, it's a good movie.
What do you mean distract? Like
no detractions.
Detractions. Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. I get you now. No, it is. I mean, I think there's a great balance to the sort of action, the darker and the lighter stuff, and at its core, it has a good heart. You know.
Yeah. Good family dynamic. And as Murtaugh walks Riggs to his car, Riggs turns to him and goes, "You don't trust me, do you?" And Murtaugh simply says, "Tell you what, if you make it through tomorrow without killing somebody, then I'll start trusting you." And then Riggs turns around and says, "Listen, I do it good, you know." He doesn't say the word killing, but he says, "I do it well." He goes, he talks about how he was a sniper and how he was trained in Vietnam and how he could take the shot that no one else can take, which will come into play, by the way. The kind of a common bond there. This is when they kind of seal the deal that they're partners. Later that night, Murtaugh wakes up. He hasn't opened his birthday gifts. He's opened the birthday gifts, and he comes up with this package that has Amanda's yearbook and video in it. It's Amanda's 1983 high school yearbook, but it also has a video, and the video is pretty much softcore porn. I'm sure Trevor and Colin know the name.
Isn't it called Amanda and Her Friends or something?
I was kidding because I thought you were being a pervs.
No,
He actually knows the name.
He's like, I have this written down.
YouTube, come on.
I own a copy of the tape. No, yeah, it is. No, I just pay attention.
Now, when I talk about the family dynamic in the last scene, what's cool about it is that right after that, and after he opens up the package with the video and all, you cut to Murtaugh sleeping, and there's a cup of coffee being waved in front of his face, and it's Riggs. Yeah. So they've already adopted him into the family. He's allowed in the house. You know what I mean? And he takes to it. They decide they're going to go talk to the hooker, Dixie, that they introduced in the beginning. That saw Amanda Hutsacker fall. They decide to go to her house. They're saying that's kind of really weird that she shows up there. That's not her usual spot because Dixie's a regular with the cops. Why was she there at that moment? They think, and it's just a guess, that she's the one who put the drugs in Amanda's drink, but she was just supposed to pass out, whatever. She didn't realize when she was leaving the apartment that Amanda would plummet and drop right in front of her, where she would have to be a witness to a suicide. So her plan was kind of foiled. As they go to Dixie's house, it explodes. So they realize they're onto something. Riggs finds out that the explosives, it's really black ops stuff, and it's made out of mercury switches. So now they know that this is professionals that are doing this. This is escalating even higher than just some hooker or porn star looking for a gangbang. I don't know.
Oh dear.
What? What?
Just like looking for a gangbang.
That's how Michael Jackson. No, wrong. I won't go there. As I talk about the child scene, they interview a bunch of kids who were in the area at the time.
It's a very funny scene, actually.
It is a very good scene. We won't go into it. You should watch it. It's very cute, actually. But one of the kids who's the main witnesses, who wears 3D glasses, says he looks like that, and he points at Special Forces tattoo that Riggs is wearing. And he tells Roger that nobody gets this tattoo. Whoever did this they're going to be trouble. These guys are professionals. So at this point, they go, we need to talk to his buddy, Michael Hunsaker, from the beginning. And they go, and Riggs is waiting outside as Murtaugh's talking to Michael Hunsaker. And he goes off on Michael Hunsaker, goes, your daughter wasn't killed something she was into. She was killed for something you're into. We find out that he's helping funding this drug cartel. These ex-mercenaries are funding through Michael Hunsaker's bank. He's like the middleman, the launderer. And then, obviously, they're selling it on. As he's about to expose the entire operation, a helicopter comes up, and Joshua, we introduced him again, shoots Michael Hunsaker dead as he's drinking eggnog. Merry Christmas. Dead.
Right through the carton, too. The bullets goes right through the carton.
Exactly. Riggs is outside, and there's a great shot of Riggs shooting at the helicopter. Not going to get anywhere with it, but the camera follows him from behind the shoulder. It's a really cool shot. He fires all the shots into the helicopter, but obviously doesn't get the helicopter at all. It's moving too fast.
Well, you do hear it ping metal, but as with all things with these movies, they tend to think metal is bulletproof. It's not.
Yeah, did it hear ting ting ting?
Yeah, you can hear it a couple of times.
All right. Well, he's such a good shot.
Yeah, well, this is it. There has to be a sort of suspension of disbelief there as well, because if Mel Gibson was to shoot the helicopter down, then the film would be over. You know, at the end.
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Although this next scene, this is the only part of the movie that I'm like, eh.
Okay, is this the part? Okay, well, the next scene would be Riggs and Murtaugh are on the street talking to hookers. I don't know why they're questioning hookers all of a sudden, but they are. Probably because since Dixie was a hooker, and technically so was Amanda, question hookers if anyone been around talking to you, looking for these mercenaries. As he's talking about a hooker, Riggs gets a shotgun blast in his chest by Joshua as a drive-by. He flies through the glass window, and he survives it, but he's taken a blow, so he can barely breathe and so forth.
Yep.
And the big thing about it was Riggs, Murtaugh runs up to him, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "It was Joshua." He goes, "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I never forget an asshole."
Yep.
Great line.
Why do you not like this scene, Cole?
That's why I want to know. It's a great scene because he actually makes the comment, "They think I'm dead, Murtaugh. They think I'm dead."
That part's fine.
What's the problem?
What I want to know is, A, Joshua knowing that he spoke to the police. Like, fair enough, he would have scoped out and seen Murtaugh, but he doesn't know that Murtaugh's a cop.
Oh, they would know that.
They could have tapped this phone.
No, there's no tapping.
Okay.
I mean, they would know.
Not necessarily. If you're flying up in a helicopter with your intention is to take out Michael Hunsaker, you don't know he spoke to the police.
He was actually, I know what you mean, he was actually talking to Danny Glover at that point. So, yeah.
Like, if you're taking the shot, you're not going to be like, who's this guy? He could just be some, like, given it was the funeral, it could well just be some well-wisher, some friend.
That's what I think. It might be, there could be a deleted scene, actually. But
it's possible, yeah.
But
because,
also,
again, how did they know to go and find Riggs?
Yeah.
Because Riggs wasn't in the building. He was just outside. He could have been anyone.
Well, the bad guys also could have tapped Hunsaker's phone, because he had been on the phone, and he had met with Danny Glover, Murtaugh and Riggs earlier on in the film too, so maybe they've been watching him and sort of tapping his phone sort of thing.
Potentially. But it's one of those kind of unexplained ones. It's the only real part of the movie that I'm like, I don't really like that part, because it's just... It's the one that leaves me asking questions.
I'm the opposite. I mean, you got to realize these guys are mercs. So if they want to find out something, who are the cops that shot us? I mean, that's maybe you need that line. Find out the assholes who were there, who shot at us, maybe. But
just something throwaway to kind of go, right, okay, that's tied up. It's the only thing that is remotely kind of loose in this movie. Everything else, you're like, yeah, that follows.
Yeah.
It's the only part that I'm like, nah.
I didn't think of it. I just thought because of who they are and who their background is, they would know who these two were.
Yeah, they're elite. Yeah.
Michael Hunsaker, they clearly knew he was talking to the cops because they show up, obviously, and shoot him. So they know that they were there. So you're right. They might have given us a fucking maid making a phone call. Oh, yeah, they're in the house. He's in the house talking to a cop or something. But we didn't get that. I guess a 1-9 fix, as they call it in the biz.
Yeah. Even something earlier in the scene, like where Joshua and McAllister were talking, and they could have even just done a throwaway line of, you know, I suppose but then it ruins the whole reveal that it wasn't Amanda, it was her father was the problem. So yeah, I guess they could have done a throwaway line.
Yeah,
line maybe in retrospect.
It would have been kind of neat if he went to his buddy's house there before he got shot. He didn't really put the pieces together yet, but you'd have to rewrite some stuff then. That's true. And then when he gets shot, he realizes Michael was the target, not Amanda, or was the issue.
Yeah, they could have done something.
Or Michael tells him the truth with his dying breath type thing.
Well, I do think when he goes to Michael and he confronts him that you're the problem, not something Amanda did. I kind of like that. I thought it still works, but I get you guys' point. But I just go with who these guys are. They can get to anybody.
This is foreshadowed as well in the earlier scene with Michael and Murtaugh, because Michael, although you can sort of justify it, he is a bit of a prick to Murtaugh, which says, "You owe me, go and kill them," type thing.
Yeah, exactly. So as they survive that, they get to the car, and Murtaugh gets a call from the precinct. You need to go to blah 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 blah. There is a body, male, Caucasian, 18, and he goes, "Oh, okay. Is he blonde with dimples?" And the person on the other end goes, "How do you know, Sarge?" So now he realizes from the comment he made during the conversation about Rianne's boyfriend that somebody's going after his family. So Murtaugh and Riggs get to the house, and they find out that Rianne has been kidnapped by the bad guys, killing her boyfriend. This is my favorite line in the film. It's the Christmas tree. They're sitting by the Christmas tree, and it's a great scene. Again, Christmas, Colin. They're sitting by this big, beautiful Christmas tree with all these ornaments, holy now, and yada, yada, yada. And they're talking about slaughtering a bunch of people. And he looks at Roger, and he goes, because this whole film, Murtaugh's trying to be more of a pacifist. He's not a pacifist per se, but he doesn't want to use his weapon if he doesn't have to.
It's not lethal force. He's restraint.
He's reserved, yes. And he looks at him and he goes, "Roger, we're going to have to get bloody on this one." Love that line.
Yeah.
And he says, "When you shoot to kill, and you kill as many as you can." And it's a great line because the whole film is based around Murtaugh trying to restrain Riggs, but now Riggs has to unleash Murtaugh. Does it make any sense what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're now in Riggs' world. We're doing things the Riggs way.
Yes.
We've tried the Murtaugh way, but it hasn't quite worked out. So it's time to get fucking hardcore.
Damn right.
The Riggs way.
Damn right. Yeah. USA, guns, shoot them all, fuckers. Shoot them all. And this is
shit. I didn't say it this time.
Yeah, I'll say it. This is where you just get a steak and a beer and you sit back and you fucking watch it. Okay. The first half of the film is like, getting to know the characters and seeing what we can do to get Riggs on the right path. And now it's just, we're in Riggs' world.
Yeah.
And we're in
and kind of from here on, the comedic aspects go. Like the first half of the film was the lighthearted buddy cop kind of part, and then the second half's just action.
It's a 2-act film, and I like that. So Murtaugh is going to meet the bad guys in the desert, as you do. And they think at this point that they think Riggs is dead. So he drops Riggs off a couple miles. Remember the old sniper situation he brought up to him during dinner? Well, he decides he's going to hide in the background and sniper these fuckers. So Murtaugh shows up. He's surrounded by a helicopter, a couple of cars. Guys show up with his daughter. And he says, "You better let my daughter go." And he holds a live grenade. The only flaw I have with this, it's a live grenade. It's not really going to take them all out.
Yeah, I thought that as well. I thought it wasn't, and he was too far away for it really to do serious damage. So,
I guess he could throw it, but technically if they shoot him, it would just fall on him. But
well, that's what they did in the end, to a degree.
Yes, they do. They pretty much shoot him in the arm, and long story short, the bad guys start getting sniped. Clearly, Riggs is starting to snipe the bad guys. But as things start going their way a little bit, they might win this thing. A gun comes behind Riggs' head, and the general knows he's there. They both get captured, and Rianne, his daughter, is still with them. And now we come to the torture scene. This is a tough scene. We meet. He goes, "Who's the chin?" That's horrible to say, but I can say it because it's in the movie.
Yeah, you're quoting.
Well, it's a product of its time.
Yep. Yes.
There's a couple of those lines.
Yeah, I
that
don't.
sort of make comment about it. So, like, at the start of the film, they mention about guys in the 80s. Then when the house blows up, Murtaugh's trying to put out Riggs' jacket, and he says, "What are you, a fag?" And he's like, "You're on fire."
Yeah, well,
it's
not even just
it's
a
an
product
80s
of his
movie.
time. I mean, those guys were sort of hard men, soldiers, ex-Vietnam veterans and stuff. So
yeah,
Yeah.
but you can't hold it against the
it's
film.
realistic,
Yeah, I mean,
of course.
we
It's
live in a
fiction.
world. We live in a
Fucking
world
fiction.
which is so fucking PC now. I'm so sick of it. It's refreshing to see these tongue in cheek. And the great thing about it, the Chin
It's
is
fiction.
played by Al Leong. He's actually a famous Hollywood stuntman who was in every fucking 80s film ever.
I was just about to say that.
And he's also in Die Hard.
He's in Die Hard. He's in Big Trouble in Little China. He's done a
He's in
Tango. He's in
everything.
everything.
He was also in what was that one we did last year? The one with Dolph Lundgren.
I Come in Peace?
Yes, he was in
Oh,
that.
that's right. You go in pieces. Yeah, I mean it's nice to see him. He's done like I think 90 films, and he's a stuntman, so he has more behind the scene than he does in front of the scene. But he always peppers himself in there, and I always like to see him.
My favorite line in this scene is one of my. It's just an absolutely fucking superb line. Is whenever the guy McAllister is like threatening him, or sorry, is it Joshua? It's Joshua is threatening him, and he's talking about we have a shipment of merchandise, and Riggs turns around and goes exactly what I was thinking. Why don't you guys just fucking call it heroin?
Yeah.
Instead of this merchandise shit, this pretentious, we've got a shipment of merchandise, and that's just excellent.
Just call it heroin.
Yeah.
The merchandise. I know, it's so classy when you call it merchandise. You don't work for fucking Macy's.
Yeah.
So they tie his hands up. He's hanging by his wrists. They have him dipping a little bit of water. Water's pouring on him. They're going to take battery, jumping cables with little sponges, and they're going to electrocute Riggs. And they do. Oh, it's horrible. He's shaking. He's taking the hits. We cut back to Murtaugh, who he got shot earlier. They're putting some kind of powdered salt on it. Oh, that's got to suck.
I actually found out that sort of made me squirm more than the stuff with Riggs.
Yeah, because you can see the blood and bubbling.
Yeah.
And the salt. And they bring in his daughter, and he says, "Now you're going to talk." He starts pretty much crying. You leave my daughter, but a violent cry, if that makes any sense, like rage.
I also think there was a darker scene in this that may have been removed because Rihanna was dressed in the car scene, and when she comes in this scene, she's basically in what I imagine is underwear.
I don't think she was raped or anything because I think they just did that to her to make him see that.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I
but
don't think that
again,
film
it's
would have
one of
went
those
there.
ones that could well have been a cut scene.
I know.
That was like, it's too dark.
I know the two deleted scenes in this film.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him about
Not
it.
that.
Not that. I don't think
fair.
Richard Donner would have done that. In all fairness.
Okay.
It would have been unnecessary because it was already a threat with these guys. I don't think it would. It would have been a bit too much. I think.
It was just to set him off. That's all
Yeah.
it was. So as he's being set off and he sees this happening, we cut back to Riggs. Riggs being the ninja man, jumps up, wraps his legs around, I'm going to say Chin. I'm not being erased. That's what we called him. And pretty much just strangles him and breaks his neck. He gets...
To be fair, you could have called him Endo.
Of course.
Oh, is that his name?
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is-
Oh, great. Now you make me look like a racist.
This is. I mean,
Like,
sorry. Go ahead.
they do say it.
Fuck you, Colin. You bastard. Welcome back, Colin, you rat bastard.
You're welcome.
Okay.
But yes, this is a sort of classic. This is a scene that's sort of, this general sort of overall scene. It's the classic trope in action films where the bad guys have a chance to kill the good guys, but they decide to torture them instead, and then, they inevitably escape. It happens in every single James Bond film practically,
It is cliche, but it's dark.
but it has to be done.
But it's darker. James Bond's more comic book.
Yeah.
I will tell you my evil plan, Mr.
Yes.
Bond.
This one's just an R-rated perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, he gets out of it, and all of a sudden Riggs kicks open the door to save Murtaugh and Rianne. I won't go into details, but it's a massive fucking shootout, blood everywhere. I love it. Killing and killing and killing.
In the nightclub, yeah.
Yeah, in the nightclub, Riggs chases Joshua, and Murtaugh goes after the general. The chasing Riggs is really cool. I like it because Joshua's always stealing cars, but yet Riggs is on the foot, barefoot, and he's right behind him all the time.
He was like the original T-1000, just legging it.
You got to give Mel Gibson credit. That guy was fucking a machine when he was that age. He was just booking it. It's a great chase scene, one on foot and one on car. We cut to Murtaugh. Murtaugh is looking for the general. He's in an alleyway. We see the general in a car. He's got a driver. The general clearly says, run him over. And Murtaugh takes a second, gets a shot in, and he blows the driver's head off, causing the car to veer, flip upside down. The car starts on fire, and that poor bastard general is surrounded by cocaine, heroin, and grenades. Well, we know what happens there. Boom.
Boom.
Again, it was another good scene because there wasn't much to it in regards of acting, but there was, because the screams did sound like, oh shit, I'm going to die.
I liked it because it showed the general almost getting tortured at the end, because what he was doing was he's underneath the seat. The headrest is squeezing his neck, so he's stuck between the headrest and the floor of the top of the car, I guess you could say, and he can't get out. He's stuck, and you can hear him whining to try to get the grenades. Like a squeal.
Desperate.
Desperate. Perfect word. And he deserved it. Great, great death. Meanwhile, yes, Joshua carjacks another car, and there's Riggs right behind him for whatever reason. He's like a ninja. But all of a sudden, as Riggs is about to catch up, as Joshua is about to carjack somebody else, Riggs gets hit by a car. And we realize that Joshua is heading to Murtaugh's house. So that's the big kind of showdown between all the. I liked it because you know how most of the action films, especially we'll talk Tango and Cash. Yes, it should be unbelievable, but was it? Could you? Let me ask you guys this. This is a good question. Could you see Riggs and Murtaugh get out of that situation that we just watched?
It's possible, I suppose. You know.
Yeah. That part's kind of the suspension of disbelief.
It's not too unrealistic compared to, like, say, Rambo films or something, or an Arnold Schwarzenegger film or something, or even James Bond, for example. You know, so it is grounded in more reality than those types of action films, I would say.
Yeah, you know? I kind of agree with Colin a bit. The only problem I have with it, these guys are mercenaries. Yeah. So when he kicks open that door and starts shooting, don't get me wrong, Murtaugh's the man, and so is Riggs. But I would like to have seen both of them get shot, not to die, but take a couple bullets.
I would argue, yes, they're mercenaries, but human psychology would play a large part in that, where you're in what you would describe as your stronghold, your safe place. You are not expecting to get shot.
Also, while the bad guys are sort of, are hardcore and, fully trained sort of killers and stuff, so is Riggs and Murtaugh, so they're good matches for each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's pretty much the element of surprise.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, if they're not expecting to have to fight, they're probably letting their guard down. They're just like, ha ha ha, we've got this. Which is kind of what happens towards that. They're like, beautiful daughter, blah, blah, blah. And Murtaugh's like, I'll kill you. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And then bang, here comes Riggs.
Yeah, and I guess with Riggs' temper, as we've seen with the drug buster earlier and so forth, he's got a violent temper. So when you set him off.
Yeah, and specifically his aim, as he proved in the gun range earlier, it's pretty much, he knows where that bullet's going.
Yeah, I'm the best at what there is.
I mean, I have no problem. I mean, I don't think it requires that much of a suspension of disbelief. Maybe I'm desensitized to these types of films, and sort of used to it. But I think with things like, James Bond films or even the Rambo films, they're much more over the top and much more unrealistic.
Yeah, one's eye candy. The other is,
This is grounded in reality more.
Yeah.
And Riggs and Murtaugh are very much real characters, more fully rounded characters than, say, the sort of two-dimensional sort of Rambos or so. Although Rambo, the character John Rambo in the original First Blood, is a fully rounded character. but he later became
Yeah.
a two-dimensional sort of killing machine
Oh
type
yeah,
thing.
after First Blood, it was just
Yeah.
How do you go from a fucking brilliant film like First Blood? And don't get me wrong, I like my Rambo films. I'm the first one to love them.
Oh yeah.
But how do you go
they're
from
good
First
entertainment.
Blood to rocket launchers and jump, just taking off an entire country in the second one? I mean, you went completely, at least Lethal Weapon, it kind of went the same direction as on route, but at least it baby stepped it.
Well, the writer of the original novel, First Blood, notoriously doesn't like the Rambo sequels, especially the most recent one. David Morrell, he said they also lost their anti-war message. They were essentially fucking pro-war,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
No,
like
let's
the
just-
last one, actually, but
Let's just blow shit up. Well, the last one, the fifth one, was essentially just like this sort of
it's very
cult
dark.
exploitation horror film.
But yeah, it was dark. I liked it. They went back. I thought
yeah.
they more.
Well, let's
continue with Lethal Weapon.
let's continue with this weapon because there's every chance that we're going to end up reviewing a Rambo film at some point.
did.
Entire series.
I mean, I think Last Blood has already been done, so yeah.
Yeah, we did First Blood.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, let's move on. He's right. We do kind of veer out.
yeah.
Don't want to be reviewing two movies in one,
That's all right. Party pooper.
Keep us on track.
Yo, hey. Okay, so yes, they decide they got to get to his house because he's gonna go. Joshua's gonna go after Murtaugh's family. They have two cops already patrolling. Joshua shows up, hey cops, and blows their heads off. So Joshua gets to the house and there's a Christmas tree and there's a note there, and it says, "Dear bad guys, no one here but us cops. Signed, the good guys." All of a sudden, a car comes crashing through the house, and Joshua and Riggs are going to have a duo, a fight to the death.
Or as we see in Belfast, a fair dig.
Cops are surrounding. Murtaugh's telling everybody, I am accountable for this. Let these two men fight. They fight. The fire hydrant was broken, so of course there's water everywhere. I will say this, it's a cool scene. It's, both of them in Taekwondo and all this stuff going on. They're fighting it out. It gets to the point where Riggs finally wears him down, barely, actually. And this is where his character changes a bit. He decides he's not going to kill him. A, it would be bad to do that in front of a bunch of cops. But B, I think it shows that he knows how to pull it back now. He doesn't have to kill him.
Strangely enough,
It shows you
did
that
Murtaugh not tell him to kill him?
What was
Yeah.
that?
I think Murtaugh told him
He
to kill
does.
him.
He does tell him. It's the complete reverse of the roles.
it's a really good
Yeah.
scene, and it's well played because essentially it's the character going, well, both characters, Riggs and Murtaugh, going sort of full circle type thing, if you know what I mean. Whereas Riggs is now going the sort of, or ends up going the Murtaugh way, and Murtaugh, well, he was a bit more too influenced by Riggs, kill him.
Exactly. It's almost role reversal a little bit. They kind of learn a bit from each other. It's kind of where I take from that. But of course, as the two cops bond and said, "You okay, buddy?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm good." Joshua tries to grab a gun as he's being handcuffed, and Murtaugh and Ribs shoot him as he dies.
For the final scare, it's a very horror film.
Which a film we've mentioned earlier copies, which is Die Hard. We see Riggs at his wife's grave, visiting her, bringing her flowers. I think it's a great scene because it's coming to him full closure, full circle to kind of end this chapter in his life. Mm-hmm. He goes to Murtaugh's house, and Rhiann answers, and he gives Rhiann the hollow bullet that he wants to kill himself with that he told Murtaugh about. Gives it to your father. Give it to your father. He'll understand. As he's leaving, Murtaugh runs out. "No, you're staying for us for Christmas." And as they walk in, we hear "I Will Be Home for Christmas" in the background, and movie ends.
Yeah, and Riggs also says to Roger that, I've got a secret to tell you. I'm not really crazy either.
Yeah. They have it. Die Hard.
Cool.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Lethal Weapon.
Well, funny you should mention that. Here's a bit of trivia for you. Originally, Bruce Willis was up for the role of Martin Riggs in Lethal Weapon, and vice versa. Mel Gibson was also up for the role of John McClane in Die Hard.
Well, there you go. I think they both kind of might have worked.
Yeah.
All right, Trevor, you're in. Give us the review of a lifetime.
I think Lethal Weapon is an excellent action film, an excellent 80s action film. and one that I loved as a kid, and revisiting it during the week there, it's still still enjoy it, and I think it's very well written and also very well acted, especially by Gibson and the two leads essentially, Gibson and Danny Glover. There's some great action scenes. We've got cool, threatening villains with Gary Busey and the gang, and yeah, I mean, thoroughly entertaining. I have to say, like as I mentioned earlier on as well, it has it has the sort of light and the dark stuff, but it also has a heart at its core too. The only thing I would argue is that I actually think Lethal Weapon 2 is slightly better. I don't really like 3 and 4. I thought it became too sort of overly sort of sentimental and this whole family thing, but I think the first two are classics and much imitated as well, as we know.
Yep, spot on. Colin, what do you got?
Well, let me just go back a little second. Trevor, Christmas movie in your opinion?
It's a bit of a reach, but I'm happy to call it a Christmas film. Yeah.
Okay, but you would.
What about comparing it to Die Hard
as a Christmas film, or are you talking about as a Christmas film or as a movie?
I'm talking about it as a Christmas movie. Which one do you think is closer to? I will watch that at Christmas.
I will have to watch Die Hard again. I haven't watched it in a few years now, so we'll have to watch it again. But I've always, to be honest, I've always associated the original Lethal Weapon with Christmas. I've sort of always considered it a sort of Christmas film.
There you go.
Okay,
that's something.
Yeah, Die Hard as well, and you know what, Gremlins too. So
Gremlins.
I actually watched Gremlins last week.
Great film.
Yeah. So it is a bit of a stretch. They're essentially just set at Christmas, both films. Die Hard and Lethal Weapon. But I'm totally happy if someone wants to call Lethal Weapon and Die Hard a Christmas film. That's totally cool with me. And if it doesn't work for you, fair play also. All
right.
That's fair.
What do you got, Colin?
No, I want you to go.
Oh, you bastard. You're telling the host I have to... Wow. Whoa.
Yeah.
Insurrection.
I'm editing this right now. Edit to me for this third. All right, I'll go for that's fine. You want to throw a curveball at me? All right. I absolutely love Lethal Weapon. I saw Lethal Weapon in the theaters. I think it's a great film, and I visit it all the time. Let's get the Die Hard thing out of the way. This is much better of a Christmas movie than Die Hard ever is. But Die Hard is a much better film. Okay, Die Hard is the definitive action film. But if it wasn't for Lethal Weapon, we wouldn't have Die Hard. That's the same producer. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's not going to happen. Joel Silver. You have these guys invented the buddy cop film. This is why you have Bad Boys and all these films that come out is because of Lethal Weapon. Now, a film did it back in 81 or 82 called 48 Hours with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy. But that's not about a cop on cop. That's a cop bad guy kind of. But it's long story short. This is the quintessential buddy cop film. The poster, the two guys, the two sides of their faces. That became a staple for all action films. Die Hard did it a year later. It is influential in filmmaking, in its filmmaking, and Die Hard copied it. Die Hard did it a little better. I love my Die Hard, but this film has everything. Eric Clapton's music score. It's got enough action to keep you going, enough adrenaline to keep you going, but it's got a really good story. And these two actors. Quite frankly, Danny Glover is more of an unknown. Mel Gibson was finding his way a little bit with Mad Max, but it really put him on the map in the States.
Yes.
And I think the acting for an action film, because we just got done seeing Rambo 2 and 3, we get these guys come on board. It's a smart man's action film. I really do think that. I love the whole backstory with Martin Riggs and with Murtaugh. Murtaugh's an aging cop who's kind of bored with his life now. You can kind of see it in the bathtub scene, or he's just creeped out. But you can see that in the character. He's bored. I think he needed Riggs in his life to energize him, give him that. He doesn't want to retire. He wants to. He doesn't. I'm too old for this shit. He doesn't want that. He wants to be a kid again and be the cop he once used to be. Riggs gave him that spark. On the same time, Riggs needed to be grounded. He needed that family element. And when he lost his wife, he lost that. So meeting Murtaugh and his family, he got that. And you see that full circle coming. And I'm talking more about that than I'm talking about the fucking awesome action and the killing in it. Because I love me some killing. And this film has it. It's a spot on, well executed, well written, well acted, well shot film. This is by far one of the best action films ever produced. Die Hard still has it because it's Die Hard. But thank you, Lethal Weapon, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have Die Hard. That's where I'm at. And by the way, as a Christmas film, Lethal Weapon blows it away. Die Hard used Christmas as a backdrop just to get John McClane onto the plane to go see his kids during a separation. They have a couple little Christmas lights here and there. But the theme of Christmas is more engulfed around Lethal Weapon. The whole suicide rate skyrockets during the holiday season. That's a fact. Sadly, it's a fact. And then you've got the suicidal cop, who's pretty much swarmed in Christmas. The Christmas tree scene where he's buying the drugs. He kills 3 guys, surrounded by Christmas. Everything is somewhat Christmas oriented, and the family dynamic. And the family dynamic is based around the Christmas tone, the Christmas music that's used in it. It plays a backdrop. It plays a character in the film, and that's what makes it different than Die Hard. So I would have to say, Die Hard's a great film, best film, but for a Christmas film, Lethal Weapon is the Christmas action film. Colin, you smart ass. You took away my end my host review. You better back it up. It's on.
I'm going to be controversial here. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Lethal Weapon is not. But Lethal Weapon is the better movie.
Ooh.
And you know how much I like Die Hard.
Yes, I'm really liking this. Continue.
So, Die Hard is great, but I think it lacks a bit of heart. Where, yeah, you've got Al, but he does, he's no Danny Glover, he's no Murtaugh. And I would argue, yes, you're kind of right. There is a lot more Christmas references to a degree in Lethal Weapon, but it just doesn't fall on. Like, I don't watch Lethal Weapon at Christmas, but I watch Die Hard at Christmas. And I understand where you're coming from. It's got, what the hell is it, the song at the start? Jingle Bell Rock, isn't it?
Jingle Bell Rock, yeah.
You got Jingle Bell Rock. You have Murtaugh's wife was it Darlene Love, who sings Christmas songs. Yes. But for me, it's just not I watched it last week. It started my Christmas movies because I was like, well, I need to watch that for the podcast. And then I was like, it's only 3 weeks away, so I should probably get started. And then I watched Gremlins, and what was the other movie I watched?
I Come in Peace. That's got Christmas all over it.
But it was another one of those, it's not strictly speaking a Christmas movie kind of ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Christmas adjacent, I'd probably describe it. But no, I agree with both your points. Fantastically acted, well written, well paced. Clapton's score, fantastic. Like, I can't not hear that and go, yeah, Lethal Weapon. It's just great. Just that sort of, it is just Riggs' theme is the best way to describe it. And even like the sad sax for Murtaugh, just how just fed up with shit he is.
Yeah, the drone, that doo-doo. Yeah.
It's just so well done. And that's why I even think, as much as I love Die Hard, Lethal Weapon is actually the better of the two.
Wow, fantastic. I love that.
Okay. Yeah, it is one of my favorite movies, but I don't get that Christmas vibe from it. I wouldn't put it on. But yeah, I would say 5 out of 5 Christmas trees.
Wow, they are. It's funny you say that because I think people think Die Hard's Christmas because of one scene where he puts, now I have a machine gun, ho, 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 in the elevator. Well, it's a Christmas movie now. Where I think I'm looking more of, I know this is stretching it, It's a Wonderful Life. About a man who's suicidal, technically, and what his life would be without, and it's all built around the Christmas vibe. Lethal Weapon, believe it or not, I'm not really stretching it, is a lot like that. Suicidal man who is given an opportunity to meet the Murtaugh and how his life becomes full circle and his life does have meaning. and purpose.
I think that's a fantastic comparison. So It's a Wonderful Life.
And now I'm pissed off at myself because now I want to see Lethal Weapon's a better movie than Die Hard. Fuck you, Colin.
Can I just say as well, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here slightly. I find the score by Eric Clapton slightly intrusive and a little bit too loud in certain scenes. I think they could have toned it down a little bit.
I completely disagree.
I think they could have restrained it a little bit, and it would have worked just as well. But it's very iconic, I must admit.
Yeah, it's. Well, this has been a really good conversation. This has been a good one.
Yes, definitely. And can I just say, we went through this entire podcast without mentioning one of the most glorious things about the film, which I would just like to remind you of. Mel Gibson's fucking mullet.
He had that for years.
Yeah, it's infuriating.
Until Braveheart. Oh, Braveheart he had it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I do want to give a shout out to Mel. I love Mel Gibson. I think he's
and he's had problems.
Yeah, but it's not his. That's not fair. You got all the fucking Kardashians who sleep with everybody and fucking divorce everybody and fuck everybody, whatever they want to do. Mel Gibson had a drinking problem. It's unfortunate, but he's given us some great films and he still directs great films like Heartbreak Rage and so forth. Give the guys don't walk away from him. He's a gem of an actor, a great director, and it sucks that his career is taking this path because of a vice that he has that he's trying to take control of. Let's just give him the chance. Give him the chance he deserves.
100%.
Well, I just want to lighten it up a bit again and just say, go and listen to Jingle Bell Rock. Go and listen to Run DMC Christmas in Hollis. And Let It Snow. Get your Christmas on.
There you go. Or just watch Die Hard and Lethal Weapon back to back.
Yep, do that.
There you go. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. This has been a fucking great. This is our first one for Christmas month. We're going to do Scrooge next, another Richard Donner film. With
fantastic movie.
With Bill Murray. I don't know who's going to be on that one, but we'll figure it out, and we'll take it from there. Guys, thank you for all the downloads. We got 3 more followers. I want to thank you for joining us from Germany, from Canada, and from Alaska. Here we go. And keep on listening. Keep on downloading. We're reinventing ourselves. We got some big changes coming up in the new year. We've actually been discussing it. I'm looking forward to it. And I won't tell you what they are because I always change my mind. So, guys, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much. Thanks to everyone listening. And thank you, Kieran.
No.
And you too, Colin.
Don't thank Colin. He interrupted. He took over as host, the bastard.
Yeah.
Rebellion. It was a rebellion.
I think this is something in the future here. Intent. All right, guys. We are done with this one. Guys, take care.
Good stuff. Thank you.
All the best, guys.
Bye-bye.